Okay, so the topic of today's video is ironically something that we all deal with. Great magnitude, small magnitude. Some of us are more vocal about it. Some of us may pretend it's not as big of an issue, but it's a big issue. Fear is something that literally all of us deal with. If you're like me, I'm an overanalyzer, so it magnifies every fear past the level of normal comprehension to where it becomes, quite frankly, something that stifles. I haven't done a video in a little bit. It's been about a month and a half since I dropped anything. And I've had some people in my personal life kind of say, hey, we like the videos. When's your next one? Okay. And a little bit of positive reinforcement, a little positive push. But ironically, this video or the topic is actually a big part of why I haven't done anything in a while. You get to a certain age and you ask yourself if your goals are realistic and what exactly am I trying to, make happen, and what do I want my legacy to be, and yada yada, and you just begin to think too much and you just get fearful. So with no further ado, let's jump right on into this one. Okay, so again, it's good to be back. It's been about a month and a half since I recorded anything. Just life and trying to make some things happen, and of course, until things like my podcast get a little more rolling financially. Um, fear. The topic of today's video is fear. This could be 2-3 hours. I'm going to keep it as short as I can while giving you a very full episode to really chew on for a bit, right? Fear is something that cripples all of us. We all have thoughts. Again, if you're an overanalyzer like me, you've overthought yourself to the nines when you really didn't have to. It can make situations appear bigger than they are when you really look at them objectively, and you really realize I was stewing over something that really isn't even a big deal. And I say not a big deal, not because fear isn't ever rational. There are some things in our lives, obviously, just to kind of make an argument that we are fearful of because they could mean detriment in a serious manner, such as jumping inside of a cage with an animal at the zoo. You're afraid of what that animal can do because if that animal gets to you, they can cause you permanent harm, sometime even death. So there are times where fear or being fearful or being afraid manifest in positive ways that kind of make you rethink your next steps, right? But then there are times where you're fearful of something. What if this happens, and then it'll cause that, and then that person will react like this. That's been a lot of my fear. And the irrational thing about a lot of my fear has been you're thinking about stuff that hasn't even happened yet. Like, yeah, your worst fear might be triggering somebody and then having an issue with them because of, some step you took towards whatever you were trying to accomplish. And you might be validated in that. You might know that person well enough to know they're going to have a response, a reaction if you do dot dot dot. But the thing about it is, number one, you can't let something like that cripple what you could do. You know what I mean? Because number one, wouldn't you rather be accomplished and just deal with the bullshit if you have to? Don't not be accomplished. I think that's the biggest thing about it. Don't say to yourself, well, I'll hold back to avoid creating confrontation with this because I have a fear of the confrontation. And again, that's some of what I have dealt with in my life, right? I'm 37 years old, and I can say I've wasted time in my life being too afraid to step out, right? You know how they have that metaphoric idea that, like, if when you step off the cliff, like God's hand meets your foot, kind of, i.e., guiding your steps. You know what I mean? That's kind of how life works. Some things you really don't know until you start, which is why, like my sister, I think it was a week or two ago, she said, most people are too afraid to start something looking terrible while they do it. Because most people have a deep seated need for acceptance, that because of society's ever growing stoic mindset on disposition, people would just much rather hold back than to step forward. I'm 37 years old, as I said, and at this age, there's some things I wish I could have done by now. I still feel like I have time, and I'm going to accomplish some of those things. I'm sure I've said this at some point. I'm in music school. I could have been further along 10 years ago, but again, just was rehearsing those fears. And so, anyway, fear. We always say the classic cliche, false evidence appearing real. And you know, that sounds great to say, but to be honest with you, that's true. False evidence appearing real. Um, I'm in the process of writing a book. I'll tell you the title later, but I'm only referencing it for this reason. I talked in my book about the mind and how the mind works. Yeah, you know, you have the emotional side and you have the intellectual side. These two sides can work in harmony when you make sure that you check each side necessarily to allow the other side to reign supreme. If you are in a situation where you're trying to figure out the right, you know, let's say you are married and you're trying to figure out where to live, because obviously you want your family to be safe and you want there to be good education and you want there to be food. You don't want to be in a food desert, right? Those are intellectual things that you think about and you kind of make a checklist. Good reasons to move to this city, bad reasons to move to this city, right? There's nothing wrong with that. That is just analysis. Like I always say, computers are made to emulate the way a brain works, right? So literally, your brain is the most powerful tool on earth. You can think of everything that could go right, everything that could go wrong. And all that is analysis and statistics and facts. You've basically done like a, what's the word? A quick analysis or like a summary, right? Almost like a report on the good and bad of moving in said neighborhood. But what fear does is instead of just looking at this stuff as, you know, things to think about when making your choice, we look at that as the end all be all. And we get scared of the bad things that could happen. Well, even companies who make products will tell you bad things are always possible in life. You can't run from it. So instead of being scared, what you do is you sit down and you figure out ways to mitigate, right? Meaning to deal with the process of alleviating yourself of the negatives. You don't get scared of them. Because at the end of the day, that's just your feelings reacting to data. Your brain comes up with the data, your feelings react to the data. We all like happy, positive feelings. So, this is obviously, I'm not really going to mention that much in this particular episode, but from a negative perspective, okay, so crime, let's say crime in a neighborhood. Crime is an excellent reason to move out of a neighborhood or to avoid moving in a neighborhood at all. But let's say you're the kind of person who knows crime is possible anywhere technically, and so no matter where you live, you're just scared. Well, that would obviously be a negative example of your feelings just unrealistically heightening, you know, the potential negative effects of a situation. Does that make sense? So what we have to do is, and you know, learn to check your emotions. Emotions are great because in this particular scenario I just gave, let's say the intellectual side, you know, it reigns supreme. All you need to do is crunch numbers or, you know, do a couple of calculations in your mind, do some research on Google, figure out exactly the good and bad of a neighborhood. But on the negative side, your emotions, what your emotions can do is, I'm sorry, actually on the positive side, your emotions actually can make you feel a situation, make you feel a person. It can kind of give you like, you know, you and a person are in sync. You're synonymous. You're one, right? If there's, you know, somebody passed away, somebody didn't get accepted to college, you know, somebody had a bad day. You know, I remember, you know, me and my daughter, when she's feeling sad, I always just hug her. You know, a buddy of mine told me that the average human needs 5 hugs a day to just feel loved. I hug my daughter as much as possible, especially in those moments where maybe she has a tear or two in her eye, because I want her to know I'm there for her. That's me allowing my emotional side in a positive way to step forward and reign supreme. In scenarios like that, you have friends who loved ones passed away. You know, you feel sad and you want to be in that moment with them, you know. We try to be positive in those moments because you want those people to smile, but you have to balance it because you have to know how to just be there. Those are moments when emotions really reign supreme, and they're, you know, the thing to lead with. But do you see how drastic these are? You know what I mean? Most people live the majority of their life situations through their feelings. And that is really one of the biggest problems, in my opinion, of the world at large today. Nothing is about what's right. Nothing is about what makes more sense for the whole of people. It's about my feelings and how I feel. Well, feelings lie to you. Feelings literally lie. Again, my sister, we were having a conversation and she was reading a study, and the study was saying that basically humans can literally remember a situation different than it actually happened. And do you know sometimes people develop fears based on that? They develop a fear based on the wrong remembrance of a situation. And to them it makes sense. And it's just like, no, this is the problem with fear. So what has fear said to me over the years? Everybody think they could be the next rapper, which is true. Everybody think they could, be famous, which not everybody does. I know plenty of people who don't want fame at all. I mean, even Jay-Z talked about the downside of fame on the song, Holy Grail, right? Everybody this, everybody that. Why do you think you're special? And I do think that nowadays there is an ever growing, what's the word? Consensus that we're all special, and me and I, me, and you just do you. I do me. I do think nowadays we are a lot more selfishly minded as people, but I don't want to say it's because we're not special. I don't think that, being more special than somebody else is really what it's about. It's about finding the ways that we individually are special. But that can be hard. And fear can talk to you and tell you, you're looking at it incorrectly, especially if you have a lot of people around you saying things like, what makes you different? Why you? They, in their mind, might be thinking, no, this is the practical, logical question, seeing as though there are so many people who are just like you. We just want to know why you would be special. And the truth is, in some of those scenarios, maybe they're not trying to, be damning when it comes to what you want to do. Maybe they're honestly just asking. However, sometime, as we see, Steve Jobs, Michael Jackson, and let's not even use famous people. People who get $100,000 jobs at, what's the word? Information technology firms, people who get government contracts, people who are in the SaaS space. Like there are so many ways to achieve your dreams and to be what you want. I think we use music and rappers and ball players because they're the biggest drastic example of kind of what everybody shoots for. But even in some of those scenarios, people are still capable. It's about steps. It's not even really about how good you are. I mean, we see that easily again using one of the easiest examples, music. If you listen to hip hop in particular, there are artists nowadays having a hard time selling tickets because the music has just kind of dropped in quality, right? So you're at a level where it's like hip hop is struggling. You know what I mean? And part of that is because of technology and everybody can just go in their room and make a song. And so then it gives people more rise to the idea that they could be the next special one. And then again, you have people asking, well, why are you special? And then there goes that fear again. Because sometime you really are the one. You really could have that ability. And that's something I've really wrestled with. As a person, you're good. You're talented. What are you fearful of? And so it's like, ask yourself questions. What exactly are you scared of? Okay, now what do you do about what you're scared of? Because that's really the problem, right? Like me, working out, getting my body in shape, my beach bod. You know what I mean? Why do most people not work out? Or better yet, what is the fear most people have truly of working out? That it hurts. It just damn hurts. Working out hurts. Can we be honest? It hurts. The average person wants to go through as little pain as possible. The problem is that's why they're average people. People who become spectacular in life and significant have gone through all the bullshit and they've just kept going. And that's just not something you can get away with. That's just not something you can get away from. I use working out because that's one of my things. Okay. I'm at the level where working out no longer hurts. It's just resistance. But it takes a while to get to that point, right? So, what is the real issue with most people's fears? The pain behind what they need to do to get what they want. Okay, so what do you do about the pain? You have to go numb. And this is where the whole stoic mindset comes in, which is what I think is one of the problems in society. People have gone into overdrive as far as being stoic. And I've talked about stoicism before. What is stoicism? Some people think it's basically just holding up a middle finger to everything in life. It just middle finger at all of it. No. Stoicism is not I don't care about anything. Stoicism is most people spend time on things that are ridiculous for them to even think about. They're wasting their energy, their time, and their emotional resources on nonsense, which is about 95% of what people deal with in life. Stoicism says 95% of things will get none of me. This 5% will. Trying to get it over my mic. This 5% is what I actually should care about. So people who are stoics, they understand most of that stuff is not even worth my time. And so the real question is, how much of your fear is actually valid? That's a real question. How much of what you're afraid of is valid? Because again, like we talked about with my zoo example, if I end up somehow stumbling into which you shouldn't stumble into a cage at the zoo, but if you stumble inside of a cage with an animal that you know could quite frankly end your life, that's a valid fear. This is why they have gates and fences up in the first place. This is why they tell you to stay away from the gate in the first place. This is why they tell you not to feed the damn animals, which some people just don't listen to in the first place, because of the fear of the negative permanent ramifications of what could happen if this animal gets to you, right? That is an understandable fear. But what happens if I do this and if they say that and that they react like that and then you're scared of a reaction of a reaction of a situation of a reaction that could end up in another situation. What? Why are you scared of that? It hasn't even happened yet. Now, again, your initial thought might still make sense. I know this person will act like this if I do this. Okay. So then your fear is not even you chasing your goal, it's that person's reaction. So it sounds like you need to just learn to be more confrontational. You know what I mean? That's what this is really about. It's not about what you're achieving or if you look stupid. It's about how things will change. People generally like things to stay the same. So because they like things to stay the same, because you can predict it. This is why, again, I talked about in a previous podcast episode years ago on Facebook, the whole working a job versus being an entrepreneur conversation that became ridiculous, right? And jobs where you get a steady paycheck, but you get told to do everything versus entrepreneurship where the earning potential is unlimited and you don't have a boss, and if you're a real man you don't have a boss, like Dame Dash once said, right? That whole entire conversation. Why do people sometimes forego dreams? And I'm not saying dreams as far as wasting your time, because some people think fuck your dreams, do what will make money and do what will make you successful, and I agree with that in a way. But I do think there's a method where any person can reach their dreams. It's just about how hard you go at it, right? So why do most people just say, screw the dream, I'm just going to go with the job? Because it's predictable. You're getting paid 1st and 15th, 16th and 30th, whatever it is. A lady I consider my Aunt Phil, she worked at a job that paid her the first of every month, which means for a whole month you're not getting a paycheck. That's discipline, right? But at the end of the day, it's predictable. The thing about entrepreneurship, it's just not predictable. Sometime you will have to chase people down to get paid. Sometime you will literally just go without getting paid. It is a rough grind until you get to a certain level. But once you get to that level, life is yours, right? That whole conversation. Most people are fearful of change. So that is another key reason why going after dreams becomes like, nah, no thanks. They're just afraid of change. But the only constant in life is change. That's the only thing that remains the same in life. So again, I ask you, what exactly is your fear? Why is it valid? Tell me why whatever you're fearful of is valid. That's really my question. Is it the confrontation that will ensue? You know what I mean? If ... happens, is that really what your fear is? Or is it the situation itself? The other thing is, I think sometimes people are fearful that maybe they don't measure up enough to hold whatever they start up, quite frankly. You know what I mean? You talk about like life cycle. You talk about cycles. Most businesses start here, earn high, and either they sell off or they kind of die off, or something like that. You look at like basketball. Most players kind of start, they get better after a while. They have some great prime years, and then they taper off towards the end, right? Where like LeBron kind of came in the league and kind of went up and has been there ever since. It's extremely hard. So most people are like, I don't even want to get up that high because I don't want to experience that level of fall. You think about companies like BlackBerry not being able to predict the future. When the iPhone came out, oh, it won't work. All touchscreen, yada yada, blah 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 blah, stupid. Well, Apple had some issues at first. They figured it out, and they've been the best tech company ever since. To the point that BlackBerry has fallen so far they don't even make phones anymore. They are a They are a security company for businesses. And I mean, hey, great, sure, do what you do. But at the end of the day, falling off happens. You have to learn how to bounce back from it, which is why I always say, what are you really scared of? Because in that scenario, if you're scared of getting up that high and having the ability to stay, you just mitigate it. You put things in place to make sure that that doesn't happen. So then again, what are you afraid of? Have you heard pastors or other people say things like, what you want is on the other side of your fear? That's not just a cliche. And for those of you who aren't spiritual like me, even if you did hear a pastor say it, that doesn't make it a cliche. That's a good damn statement. What you want is on the other side of your fear. And for a long time, I was that person. Let me not confront. Let me smile. You know what I mean? Keep everything kosher. But the older I get, I realize one of the things about life is confrontation is kind of inevitable. Parents, siblings, businesses, friends. Confrontation is inevitable. And the sooner you become comfortable with the idea that I can't avoid clashing with a person or entity or business or whatever, that'll also help. Because again, like with working out, that pain, that confrontation, the pain of working out confronts whether you're strong in your mind or whether you're weak in your mind. When you get to 15 push ups and your arms start to ache, are you done or are you going to push more? Because, like, when I first started, I would get to 20 push ups and I would just stop. That was the number in my mind. And then I watched a video and the guy was like, don't count. Do not count when you do push ups. It's the same reason that Muhammad Ali, God rest his legendary soul, said it doesn't count until it burns. Which again, burn, i.e., pain, i.e., hurt, i.e., fear. Most people just don't want to reach that point. But the truth of the matter is, the workout does not count until it burns. So I stopped counting push ups and I just started pushing as hard and as much as I could push until my arms gave out. And I do 3 sets of those every day, at least 3 sets. That's when you start to build muscle. Because number one, you'll find out, again, your body is intelligent. It has triggers and sensors all around your body. So it'll tell you, hey, you're getting to your limit. Did you hear what I just said? Hey, you're getting to your limit. I didn't say stop. When your arms start to ache, that's not when you stop. That's when you continue to push. And in those, let's say you do 25 push-ups. For me, it takes about 30 push-ups for my arms to start aching. So once I get to 30, I can feel the oxygen leaving and I can feel them getting tighter and I can feel them kind of slowing down and aching just a little. So the moment I get to 30, in my mind, I picture 40 and I run towards it. I usually reach 40 and I do 3 sets of those. You have to run towards the fear. Jay-Z once said on a song called Lost Ones, can't run from the pain, got to run towards it. He said a lot of more crafty, clever things, but I thought that was important for somebody to say in a song because music speaks the same language as your brain from a frequency and vibration standpoint, which is why they have said hip hop music has been more negative than any other influence. It's not that I agree with it, but scientifically I get it. Your brain speaks frequency and vibration. Music speaks frequency and vibration. Music is the only thing in the universe that can talk directly to your brain. That's why it's dangerous to listen to negative music, because it can literally go into your subconscious. I remember when I was younger and parents were having challenges and I was a little, afraid of my dad and disappointed in my parents, whatever else. There were times that I listened to like Eminem and other people because it fed directly what I was thinking. I was angry at them and he was angry at his mom. Boom, there you go. And what came across sonically from that song from a frequency and vibration standpoint went in my subconscious. And it was easy to kind of look at my parents from a tainted lens, right? Yeah, frequency and vibration. That's why music, just a little sidebar. That's why listening to music or negative music can be very impactful because it goes straight into your brain. But yeah, anyway, the point is triggers. Pain triggers you, but you got to keep running. When you get to the other side of that is when you really realize, man, I didn't know I was this capable of this, number one. And number two, that fear was this big the whole time. You know what I mean? So if you have any takeaways from this, just because your mind develops an analysis of what could happen in a negative sense doesn't mean you have to be afraid. You just mitigate it, put steps in place, and you go attack it. Number two, you can't run away from pain. You just honestly can't. It's the stupidest thing ever. I wish life wasn't like that. If working out didn't cause pain, we would all be ripped and jacked. Because why not? If it is not going to hurt, I'll just do it. Sure. Just sit here doing this. You know what I'm saying? Probably while I'm even recording, sitting here. What is fear? Like, you know what I mean? Why not? Just, you got to run towards it. Do it now, because at that point, it doesn't even hurt. What's the problem? Our problem in life is most people want to live a simple, free, painless existence. And I'm sorry to tell you, successful people never have a simple, pain-free existence. It is not a thing. At the end of the day, the perseverance it takes to, number one, stay in something until it gets successful. And then number two, wake up every day and keep doing it after it's successful. You got to go through the pain. Because if you think about everybody in your general catchment area, it lives in your zip code and, the zip codes outside of it alike. They have their little opinions. Sometimes they hurt because this is a friend and I thought you was going to have my back. Oh, wow. But what's going to happen when there's a million of them? So if you can't handle them saying what they say, what's going to make you handle the millions of fans who are dragging you on social media? Down with them. Cancel Jamaal Bethea. All he is a pastor's kid anyway. He probably is Satanist. What are you going to do when they start saying those kinds of things? Oh, he not saved? What does he believe? He's lost like the rest of us. You have to be able to handle all of that, right? And be able to confront it without fear. So yeah, I think this episode is longer than any other episode I've put out, and I tangented a little bit sometime, and I do that, kind of go off on the tangent. Side note, forgive me, but I hope you got the overall gist of what I was saying. But again, ask yourself, what is it you're really afraid of? Is it what you're trying to accomplish? Is it that things will change? Or is it really what comes after it? Getting up high with do you have the power to stay that high once you achieve something? Because that is legitimately a fear. To whom much is given, much is required, right? What that really means is you got to be able to handle it. LeBron James, you can love him or hate him. He's a billionaire, which means he has $1 billion to lose. You don't have $1 billion to lose, so you don't know what it's like to be him. And it's funny because I'm actually working on a song right now called Winner. For those of you who don't know, I do music as well, right? I'm kind of pivoting more into a producer role than an artist, even though I'm still going to perform. So I have a song I'm working on called Winner. I will drop the link to that as soon as it comes out. But yeah, it takes a lot to get up that high and stay because you have a lot more to lose. This is why they have PR people who speak for them and, things like that, because you need to make sure that your business can stay successful. All right. I hope you guys learned something. I'm back. I'm going to drop more episodes this next coming weeks. I got a few more topics I want to really address. But until then, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it.